The first attempt at a live-action movie based on Resident Evil hit the big screen in 2002. Some liked it, many didn't. It's not a badly made film. I think the main complaint has always been how far it strays from the video games it's based on. Well, they made 6 of these movies, and altogether, they grossed over $1.2 billion at the box office. The final entry released in 2016, titled Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. And it was. This whole thing ended here, but like anything that draws a massive amount of money, there was much more to come. Right after the final chapter released, development started on a brand new Resident Evil film. This would be a full reboot, starting from scratch. This new movie promised to stick much closer to the source material. Could this finally be the Resident Evil movie huge fans like me always dreamed of? Today, I'm crawling through the depths of the Spencer Mansion. I am trekking through the halls of the Raccoon City Police Department with Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. I'd heard that this movie did not turn out well. I read that it reviewed poorly, and all in all, it did not seem to be the movie that Resident Evil fans had been waiting for. Now, I probably shouldn't reveal this before we're even done with all of the intros, but I will. I cannot believe how bad this movie is. Welcome to Scream Sequence, razor-sharp reviews of your favorite creepy classics. Every video here on 616 Entertainment is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoyed the show here today, consider signing up. You'll get early access, exclusive videos and podcasts, and more. Pro Wrestling Tees has the merch. As always, thank you for watching. Now let me get this out of the way. I watched this movie for the first time so that I could cover it on this show. I didn't see it in theaters because from the very first images that were released, I thought it looked cheap. I could already tell that, despite writer and director Johannes Roberts' promises, this wasn't made for me. So with all that said, I assure you, I came into this with an open mind. I was ready to discover that this movie isn't as bad as people say. I was ready to come to you guys with a, you really should give it a chance. But I can't say that. This shit sucks! This episode is going to be much lighter on researched retrospective information and much heavier on my thoughts and feelings, so strap in. The initial image that we saw ahead of the first trailer, we were introduced to this movie's Claire Redfield and Leon Kennedy. Immediately, I was shaking my head. That's Leon? These two people are the same person? Let me be clear about something. I am not complaining about the fact that characters were race swapped. This sort of thing happens all the time, and it's not a big deal. I don't think there's anything wrong with casting a talented real-life human being that doesn't necessarily match the character of the source material. That's not the issue. To dig deeper into this, here's Jill Valentine in the video game. Here's how she looked in 2004's Resident Evil Apocalypse. Obviously, matching the original appearance was very important to this crew. Here's Jill Valentine in Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. Like our Leon, she looks nothing like the source material, but like I said, appearances aren't everything. As long as they nail the character, who cares, right? Well, in the games, Leon Kennedy gets shit done. He goes from being a rookie who can really handle himself, surviving zombies and Mr. X on his first day, and by Resident Evil 4, he's a professional private soldier tasked with rescuing the president's daughter from a cult all the way across the world. In this movie, Leon is a complete fucking idiot. He's useless. His introduction has him waking up already drunk, and then he's passed out at the bar. He doesn't know how to use a gun, he's overpowered and outsmarted by a journalist. I swear, there is no point to him being in this movie at all. He does absolutely nothing of consequence. And if he weren't here, the story would not be any different. Jill Valentine, in the games, is a STARS operative who is extremely resourceful. She does things by the book, and when her back is against the wall, you can count on her to come out on top. Here in this movie, she has no character. She's kind of a hothead who, she also does nothing. She has no goal, no story. There is no point to her being here. Do you see what I mean? Appearances are only skin deep. That's not the problem. The problem is that there are so many characters in this movie, and 75% of them are completely useless. There's no point to having them here at all. And what really makes this even worse is the promise that this would finally be the movie that followed the games. And in some ways, it is. Our writer and director made sure to reference the cheeseburger on the dashboard of the truck. We reference the crashing of the truck. We even include the Jill sandwich line.
Hey!
You snooze, you lose.
What?
It's Jill sandwich now.
Shut up!
All of these tiny, worthless details are followed to a T. But our main characters don't look like themselves or act like themselves at all. Where the fuck were the priorities on this picture? As I was watching, I really began to wonder who this movie was even made for. Obviously, it's chock full of tiny references that only people like you and I would understand, like the video of the Ashford twins pulling apart the dragonfly. But there's practically no explanation for who these kids are, what they're doing, why they're doing it, or why we should care about this. A casual, somebody who hasn't played the video game from fucking 1998, who just wanted to see a zombie movie, they would be wondering what the hell they're looking at. And in the fucked up characters department, this is Albert Wesker. In the games, he's the leader of our group, then it's revealed he's a bad guy. He winds up becoming a superpowered bad guy, blah blah blah. In this movie, he's a goofball. We're shown that he's got connections to someone telling him that the city will be wiped out. After over an hour goes by with his story not advancing at all, he confesses to Jill that he is somehow involved with all of this, and this confession comes out of nowhere for no reason. He just decides to tell her. He kills William Birkin and his wife, but jokes that he wasn't really gonna shoot Sherry.
I wouldn't have pulled the trigger, kid.
He and Jill laugh together as he dies, and she's distraught over his death, even though she's the one who shot him because he was gonna shoot a child! This movie is completely incoherent. Claire and Chris Redfield are also here. What are their stories? Well, they barely exist. They lost their parents at a young age, they grew up in an umbrella orphanage, and now they're adults. Chris was close to William Birkin, Claire wasn't. That's basically all there is. Brad Vickers is here, he does nothing and there's no point to his existence. Chief Irons is here, shocker, he has no story and eventually a licker kills him. And let's talk about the monsters. I always felt like the 2002 movie took a long time to introduce the first zombie. There's a lot of setup before we blast away. Unless you want to count the lady who gets hit by the truck in the opening, we don't have a zombie in Welcome to Raccoon City until the fucking 53-minute mark. There are lots of people who look fucked up and are sick, but our first shoot zombie fight is nearly an hour in. The only licker arrives at the 1 hour and 12-minute mark, and it's quickly killed in a hand-to-hand fight with Lisa Trevor, a character who, in the games, is the daughter of the guy who built this crazy mansion, and she was experimented on. It's a whole thing. In this movie, she's here from the very start, she's really creepy, and then nothing ever comes of her at all. There's no point or plot to her inclusion whatsoever. She's this monster woman who Claire met at the orphanage, and now she's here. She's apparently really strong, and this is the end of her. I guess. Because she dies when this place fucking explodes, right? Oh my god, let me talk about that. We know through this whole film that Raccoon City will be wiped out at 6 a.m. Eventually, we get to 6 a.m. Our heroes are on an escape train that crashes. They don't get out. The explosion occurs. We are told on screen that there are 0 survivors. And then our heroes emerge from the tunnel. They all survived. And the movie fucking ends. That's it. It's over. This is maybe the worst ending I've ever seen in any movie. Again, I cannot believe how bad this movie is. This movie feels like the studio handed $25 million to any random fan of the video games and said, here, make a movie out of the games. I'm not trying to be rude. Go through every episode of Scream Sequence. There's not one episode that's this negative. And I hate to single out one person who was the writer and director on this picture, but this movie is not particularly well made. The writing is terrible. And by the time it's over, you just feel like you've wasted over an hour and a half of your time. I'm sorry, but that's genuinely how I feel about this one. Half the time, this movie is so dark, I can't even tell what I'm looking at. What is going on here? What am I supposed to be seeing? We're so excited to finally see the Spencer Mansion in live action, but once our characters arrive, it looks so incredibly fake. It's green screen garbage at its finest. But that's nothing compared to William Birkin. He doesn't become a monster until there's like 10 minutes left in the movie, and he speaks in generic villain rhetoric.
Chris, come out and play. Did you really believe you could be part of my family? How could you be so dumb? I almost feel sad having to kill you.
But that is also nothing. Look at his second form. Look at this. I cannot believe this is a theatrically released movie with a budget of $25 million. Oh my god. We get a mid-credit scene of Wesker no longer dead. He's handed his trademark sunglasses by Ada Wong. Thank God we're introducing more characters, as if 90% of the fucking characters we already have aren't pointless in the first place. And just look at this frame. Look at this. This is comedy. I actually can't believe how funny this is. And I'll close with this.
You really shoot your own partner?
What's going on with your eye?
Oh, it's been doing that the last couple of weeks.
You don't think you should see someone about that?
It's probably nothing.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
I have so much more to say. I could keep talking for a full hour, but much like the characters in this movie, there's just no point. It's so funny that this was the film that promised to stick to the games, because I think that's what makes it so offensive. Releasing on November 24th, 2021, this movie did not make money, pulling in just $42 million worldwide. There are rumors that a sequel is in the works, a sequel called Resident Evil: The Umbrella Chronicles, with further rumors claiming it'll be based on Resident Evil 0. Look, I'll only speak for myself in saying this, and you can let me know in the comments if you agree or not. No thanks. Nope. I would rather not have another one of these made. I know this was a reboot. This was the big reset after 6 established films, but this shit is fucking terrible. I get the business. I get that they want to make money. But this whole thing should be flushed down the toilet. Start over again. Pretend this one never happened. If you want to cast Kaya Scodelario in the next attempt, that's fine, because she's extremely hot. But that's about the only thing worth saving from this entire mess. And, I don't know, it is what it is. This movie sucks.
Well, as I think most of you know, Oswald Spencer was the creator of the Umbrella Corporation. And the mansion was his home until the year of his death in... What the fuck are you doing here, Leon? You moron?
If you weren't looking for negativity, I'm sorry. Hey, I didn't know it was going to be this bad, but it is what it is. Let's wash our hands of this, let's jump into the next one, and have some fun. I think it's time for Killer Clowns from Outer Space.